Whenever he had a hard time in school, people will always be like, hey, listen, once you get out of school, I promise you life will be different. Kids who are smart will become rich, weirdos who don't take a shower will start taking showers, and the kid who ran the fastest won't be fed constant attention. Well, that last one clearly isn't true because Flash seems to be getting a power upgrade every time I go take a shit. Because in case you haven't noticed, the writers at DC Comics have essentially made the Flash into one of the most powerful characters in all of fiction. And since there was one stated that Reverse Flash is just as fast as Wally West Flash and Barry Allen Flash, him too I guess. I mean, how does a character like the Flash, who started out with just a regular superhero costume, not even a mask, just a helmet with some wingtips, go from a guy with superhuman speed to someone who can bend the fabric of space and time? And by the way, I know you can say the same for other characters, like, oh, Superman was sneezing planets away and he was shooting mini Supermans out of his hand. You're gonna tell me that's not crazy? Okay, sure, but the thing is, all those feats were left behind in the golden era of comics, where they can just write a story about Lois Lane turning into a black woman and they were like, yep, that sounds good. It's not even like Goku, where he progressively gets stronger and stronger to face tougher opponents throughout every series. I haven't seen Dragon Ball, but I'm just gonna assume I'm correct. The Flash goes crazy godlike level, then he gets got by Captain Boomerang, then he's a multiverse level ending threat, and then the top makes him a bottom. This is why I also hate when people try to measure past feats in a who would win scenario, but you know, that's for another time. I know us Gen Z, we love Barry Allen because that's what the CW show used, that's what the animated movies use, and that's what the DCEU movies try to use. But it has to be said, the true definitive Flash for DC Comics has to be Bart Allen Flash. Kidding, Wally West Flash. The Flash that was part of the Justice League animated series. The Flash that was part of the best Justice League comic book run ever. The Flash that had an actual personality. No offense, Barry Allen fans. And then Wally West Flash got shuffled out because Jeff Johns really liked Barry Allen Flash because that's the one he grew up with, and then DC was like, well, Flash comic sales are down, we might as well change things up a bit. Then they also said, and sweep that Wally West character under the rug forever. I mean, no one's gonna miss a character that's been the Flash for 20 years, like... Get rid of him. Then the New 52 came and Wally West was gone, and all the millennials and Gen Xers were like, hey, DC, are you ever gonna bring back this character that I kept up with for 20 or so years? Or are you just gonna pretend that he never existed? So then DC was like, you know what? You're right, here's a brand new, completely different character, a completely different fucking race as well, and just pretend it was the same character that you were fucking with before. Then Darkseid died or something, so the original Wally West was able to return, so now we have two Wally Wests and two Flashes. I know you didn't ask for that, but there you go, your little shitty Flash history lesson. And when Wally West first became the Flash, that's when the Speed Force was introduced into DC canon. So the following stories just had him pulling off some ridiculous feats. Wait. When I say Speed Force, did you think that I meant the power source that fuels every speedster's speed? Dickhead, by Speed Force, I meant how every writer is able to force any bullshit into their story at incredible speed. Okay, honestly, the Speed Force does help explain some basics, like, oh, why doesn't the Flash's clothes just burn off whenever he runs? Oh, if Flash carried that civilian to safety at super speed, surely that civilian's insides would have just ruptured everywhere. Oh, the Speed Force is now your mum, but now it's calling you dad. Cause you're its father. Yeah. That was something that happened in the show. And even if we excuse whatever the Speed Force is, the Flash just had some feats that just broke the character for every future writer going forward. Because at some point, you gotta be like, yeah, I don't know how he did that, but I'm gonna write him having trouble with these bank robbers. That's why today we'll be assessing the Flash's most broken feats, and we'll try not to die from the excessive amount of bullshit emitting from these pages. Hey, would you rather have super speed or teleportation? Ooh, yeah, that's tough. I think I'd pick teleportation because even with super speed, I don't want to be running hours on end on the ocean just to, you know, check out on a beautiful beach in Greece. Yeah, well, that's where you're wrong. Oh, okay. Because Wally West is faster than instant teleportation. That's not even... Why did you even ask me? Yeah, Wally West ran faster than instant teleportation. He was like, I bet I can get to Earth before you and your teleportation machine, and boom, he did it. Yes, he got a little boost. Apparently he had the kinetic energy of everyone in the entire world, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he was faster than instant teleportation. By definition, that makes no sense. Speed is distance over time, and there is no time in instant teleportation. Super speed and teleportation? You might as well make them the same thing. And yes, comparing the two traits is useless because both of them, just like your girlfriend, are not real. I mean, at what point do we stop calling Flash's power super speed and just call it teleportation? But faster. Being faster than 0 seconds. I can't. I really can't. I mean, talk about I'll be there in an instant. Of all the feats I list today, this one might be the one I relate to the least, because I swear to God, at least once a week my knee will get sore and I'll be like, that's it, my life's over. I'm old, I'm dying. So Wally West was able to beat death itself, which was in the form of the Black Flash, which if you didn't already know is the Grim Reaper for all speedsters in the DC universe, because apparently speedsters can just casually outrun death. And by the way, if I was in the DC universe, I don't think I'd be running from death. In fact, if I saw her, I'd just be fucking marching towards her. Anyway, so Black Flash is like, yeah, Wally, time's up, you gotta go. Then Wally's like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And you know where he goes? The end of all creation. You know what's at the end of all creation? Nothing. Literally nothing. There is no death. Death does not exist at a conceptual level, so Black Flash just fades away. And in case you couldn't tell this was from the 90s, Wally West chucks in a really cool Hasta La Vista baby. This makes me think that Reverse Flash could have done the exact same thing when he was being chased by the Black Flash on Legends of Tomorrow, a show literally about time travel. Not that it mattered in that universe because he would always come back alive with some bullshit excuse and Tom Cavanaugh back as him for some reason. Okay, going back to Wally's whole strategy over here, I'll be honest, I got no fucking clue how this even worked. Because if death is no longer a concept at the end of time, life wouldn't be a concept either. So how does the Black Flash fade away, but Wally West gets out? What? Oh god, I'm breaking the #1 rule of the Speed Force. I've thought about its logic for more than 1 second. I'm sure everyone's seen this image at some point, but I'll chuck it in here so we can discuss this together. I can think at the speed of light. I can perceive events that last for less than an attosecond. I can run faster than time. What do I see when I run across the country, Superman? I see everything and everyone. A fucking attosecond. That's 0.0000000000000000000000001 second. It's fucking impossible for the human mind to imagine just how fucking short of a time frame that is. So let me give you some comparisons. 12 attoseconds is the shortest measurable period of time. In a single second, light can circle around the Earth 7.5 times. In a single attosecond, light can barely manage to move from one end of a molecule to the other end. If you could perceive the world in that speed, even light would appear frozen to you. 1 attosecond is to a second what the size of an atom is to the size of the entire planet. Times 100. If you're an immortal living in that time frame, you'll live out the entire age of the universe in the time it will take for a normal person to blink. And he said it's less than an attosecond. I bet the writer just looked up the shortest measurement of time and they were like, yeah, well, Flash is fast and an attosecond does sound pretty cool, so fuck it, we'll just say that. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. Little did they know that by doing that, they've established a feat so ridiculous that it will be impossible to visualize this on screen. And by the way, this is Barry Allen Flash, not even Wally West Flash, and now we got Mr. Second Place over here pulling off bullshit like this. In a single attosecond, light will barely be able to move from one end of a molecule to the other end. I think we did it. We've officially speeded our force to the max, and it was Barry Allen in a panel from a Superman comic. Like, cool, you can process events that are less than an attosecond. Please explain to me how Captain Cold has caught you slipping for the 100th time. And I mean literally caught you slipping. And I would like to address the second line by the Flash here. What do I see when I run across the country, Superman? I see everything and everyone. What do you mean by that? That doesn't sound like something superhero Flash would say. That sounds like something trenchcoat Flash would say. And just because time slows down at that rate for you doesn't mean you're suddenly equipped with microscopic vision. Literally everything will be standing still. Like, what is there even to see? Actually, standing still isn't even the right word because light would get all fucked up, so technically it wouldn't even mean anything to see. speaking of writers just throwing in random numbers for the love of the game apparently, let's check out this panel. So at 0.00001 microseconds, Flash travels back and forth for 500,000 people, sometimes carrying two at once to get them 35 miles away from a nuclear explosion. I know your brain hasn't really processed what that means because it's simply not possible to process what that means, so let me explain it for you. To summarize, for this to be possible, the Flash would have had to have been traveling not at twice the speed of light, okay? Not 10 times the speed of light, not 100 times the speed of light, not 1,000 times the speed of light, not 1,000,000 times the speed of light, not 1,000,000,000 times the speed of light, not 1,000,000,000,000 times the speed of light, but 13 trillion times the speed of light. 13 trillion times the speed of light? Can you fucking believe this? Jesus Christ, 0.00001 microseconds. Really? Dude, just to put that into perspective, that's almost as long as I'd last with your mom. Then the writer has the audacity to write at a hair's breadth short of the speed of light. A hair's breadth? A hair's breadth short? Really? Jesus, I wish they had this sort of leniency when I was in school. This sort of thing has to be why teachers ask you to show all your working when doing maths, because if a kid tries to solve the area of a triangle and they're off by a simple 13 trillion, I'm gonna wanna see where the fuck it all went wrong. Luckily, there are Redditors with bigger brains than me and more time than me to solve how long it would have actually taken the Flash if he did travel just short of the speed of light. And apparently, to save all those people, it would have taken 134.2 seconds. Newsflash, that is around 134 seconds too late to save everyone from a nuclear explosion. I mean, do writers just not double check the numbers they put down on the page just to see if it makes any sense? This isn't even the case of, fuck it, you know, Speed Force, that'll explain everything. No, the maths in your own writing on the same page does not compute with one another. And now we have a guy traveling 13 trillion times the speed of light. The only thing faster than that is Einstein spinning in his grave. So yeah, when we're talking about who would win between Flash and whoever the fuck, the answer's probably the Flash, okay? Unless there's some godlike omnipotent being or Batman with 30 minutes of prep time, people will literally chuck in Reverse Flash into these who would win scenarios just so they don't have to explain, okay, Flash, but like with bloodlust and he's willing to kill and he's willing to use any of his Speed Force powers to kill the other guy. Because once he introduced Thorne's willingness to go back in time and mess with your history just because he stepped on the shoe one time, it's game over. Like, how long are we gonna pretend that Flash vs Quicksilver is an entertaining lineup, or even Flash vs Sonic? But as always, let's address the core issue. It's stakeflation. Constantly upping the stakes over years of stories means that these characters are gonna reach ridiculous godlike feats and then return back to base level the next story. So then you're like, Suman, weren't you holding up the weight of the heavens from Atlas? How are you being swatted away by Toyman's robots? Like I said before, the fact that Captain Cold was Flash's arch nemesis before Reverse Flash got revamped, it's insane, okay? In fact, the idea that the Rogues can give the Flash any sort of credible threat is laughable because we all know that the Flash can just wipe them out while going for a jog across the universe or whatever. And then you got the Flash working in the Justice League or in the Titans as if he couldn't solo whoever the fuck they're versing. But you know what? It's comic books, okay? You gotta give it some leniency, otherwise you will go insane. Because this is like the time when I looked at a bunch of moments that clearly showed that Batman was not a human being, okay? And if you haven't seen that, check that out if you haven't already. Check out my discussion channel, check out my vlog channel for random vlogs and videos, check out my letterbox, and I'll see you next week. See ya.
915 in the open.